OK, with the digital landscape changing at a rapid rate, it's easy to feel really confused. On one hand, children are surrounded by devices and we need to prepare them for the technological world, no doubt. While on the other hand, we're warned to keep them away from screens to prevent hindering their education and their relationships.
But what happens with tech when tech enters the classroom? Schools are using it to personalise lessons and provide accessibility for remote learners. But if overdone, it can be a distraction. So what's the happy medium between screen time and traditional learning? Here to discuss the good, the bad and the ugly of technology in schools, futurist and author Michael McQueen. Good to see you again, Michael. So many kids are on devices long before kindy.
Yes, yep.
Are we seeing a decline in school readiness or an improvement?
A piece of research came out a few months ago, found 28% of school starters, so 5-year-olds, didn't know how to use a book properly. And when I read it, I'm like, how do you use a book not properly? So they were basically swiping it like an iPad. So
a book?
They were unaware of how a book works, so 28%. So I think that indicates how rapidly childhood's changed, especially with the role of technology, no doubt.
What is screen time actually doing to young developing brains?
Well, I think we've had a hunch for years that attention spans, our ability to focus. We all, I certainly noticed that in myself, and we're all aware of that. We're only just now seeing the brain science around this, and it's pretty worrying. So what we're seeing is anywhere under the age of 2 or 4, somewhere in those early years, if you've got more than 2 or 3 hours of screen time, interactive screen time, iPads for instance, it's actually reducing the myelin, which is the white matter in the frontal lobe of your brain. That's what's required for brain development, learning, IQ, basically. In fact, there was a study released I saw late last year, and they've done this every year since the 1800s. Late 1800s, every generation of kids has got smarter than their parents. That's the way it should be if we're educating them well. First time, we're now seeing the next generation not as smart, not as cognitively capable as their parents, and technology's got a big role to play.
Wow.
Well, do they need to be if they've got AI?
Well,
no,
this is the big question.
So what's happening with schools and AI?
Yeah. Well, firstly, we're seeing a lot of tech in schools, partly because it's big business. There's a lot of money to be made by getting tech into schools, and there's some great tech in schools, but how you use it and where you use it matters. So, in fact, I was interviewing Professor Mike Nagel, so he's probably one of Australia's key researchers around brain development and education. He'd say it's actually hard to make the argument that technology in the classroom in primary school has a net benefit. High school, definitely, future-proof, getting ready for things. But primary school, actually, analogue typically is significantly better. And we're seeing places like Sweden and Finland. These were early movers with a lot of tech in classrooms. They're now pulling back, going back to books and paper.
In that primary school sort of days, so they can still get that sort of really interactive. Right.
It's going to be hard to turn this ship around. Do you think schools are going too far with tech?
Well, I think there is a sense that they are, and the pushback is from parents initially. We're seeing a lot of that. Like parents are going, I'm trying to get my kids off screens. They come home, all the homework's on an iPad, on an app.
And yet the parents are the ones that were giving them toys that look like iPhones and iPads.
Correct. Yeah, it's been a grand experiment for 20 years. How would this all work? And I think, I saw an example recently, a 9-year-old in school was doing an assignment in art, and they had to design a personal logo, like when we did, your coat of arms assignments, pen and paper and pencils. They used Canva AI. And I remember thinking, why? Because pen and paper, your first one is rubbish, that's your first draft, that's when the learning happens. But when you use Canva AI, it produces a brilliant result first time. Where's the creativity? This is where
aren't you still having to say, I want red here and green here and I want it to look like a lion? And
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? That's one example where I think it kind of does work.
So it produces a result, but whether the result or the process is where the learning happens. And I think when we think about AI as doing a lot of clever stuff, what it's not doing is the human things like creativity and intuition.
But Michael, you sit here on this couch all the time. We talk about where AI is going, what the future looks like and how humans will interact with that. By the time they get out of school, is not knowing about AI will be more important?
Yeah. So there are certainly...
And using Canva, using that.
Yeah. So there are moves toward that. So in the US, late last year, a rule passed that every student has to go through mandatory AI literacy training. Yeah. That's important, but I think we need to keep it for the latter years of high school rather than younger years because of the impact it's having on brains. So for teachers, it's like, if you get a choice between digital and analogue, particularly in younger years, go for analogue. For parents, the best thing you can do to reverse the impact of all this stuff, especially around white matter in your brain, read to your kids at night. It is the best way to reverse some of the damage being done by the screens.
Do you know what? I can't tell you how many art gum rubbers I went through. Do you know those cube rubbers? They smell like a rubber.
Oh, yes.
Like an eraser.
Yeah.
Right.
You never had an art gum eraser?
I never made mistakes, Carl. It's similar to my day now.
I went through so many of those things, but they smelled amazing.
I love it.
Good add-on. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you remember art gum erasers?
Oh, yeah, all those things. Clag glue, remember that stuff?
Yes.
Oh, my word.
We were also both around in the 1800s when this study began.
And the ink pen, with the feather on top.
The quill.
The quill, the slate.
Thank you, Mike. No, that's how your birth certificate, yes.